All right, now here we go back at it again. Now, today I want to record this last video because it is Friday, and it's probably the last Friday in August. Okay, actually, it is the last Friday in August. So, which means that right now, if you haven't applied for schools or if you haven't heard any responses yet, it's most likely that you're going to be going to school for the next semester or even the next year. Okay, so for my people that were able to get into their dream schools and are starting in September or have started already, congratulations. We're starting to see that many of the kids from school in America now are heading back right now, or they're back already, setting up on campus, getting things together, doing orientations. All right. Now, why do I say this? Because it's cram time right now. It's time where everybody's running around crazy. They're trying to pack their dorms, they're shopping and doing all sorts of stuff. Now, this is for people that are in America. Now, imagine if you're trying to do that on top of book flights, get to America, get all your stuff done. That could be very stressful. So, this is why I really hope that if you are looking for going to school in 2024, 2025 for that school year, I hope that you really start applying now. Okay, you start applying now. Remember, we want you to get into some of these early admission um, programs. We want you to apply now so some schools will offer you something. Then that way, hopefully, you could have the school that you want to go to and everything set up really before December, before the Christmas season. And then you could spend the next couple of months worrying about getting scholarships and getting additional money and things like that, instead of trying to wait until the last minute and get all that stuff done. Trust me, it's something you don't want to do. So I say again, right now, we're talking to 12th graders for the most part, 12th graders that are going into college next year, or even 11th graders that are going, that 11th graders that are just new 11th graders. All right. So if you're 11th graders right now, what you should be worrying about now is still picking out maybe some of the schools you want to go to, looking to see what standardized tests they may require, because even though a lot of American schools are test optional, they still have quite a few that want you to take the test. All right. So definitely you want to make sure that the schools you want to go to, if they want ACT, TOEFL if needed, IELTS if needed, you want to find these out now. If you start these off at 11th grade, you're going to have a big jump over some of your peers that are going to wait to the last minute. And then probably then we hope that by next summer, when you start applying to schools, you'll be able to take advantage of the early admission deadlines. And then you could figure out what schools you want to go to early. And then you could also possibly start looking for some money. Now, remember, when we're talking early admission, generally it's synonymous to money being offered, because obviously you're that strong academically that the school may want to offer you some money. Now, also, looking for scholarships on outside resources. Remember, internationalstudent.com. We want to start looking at these. We want to start seeing what our government has to offer. We want to start seeing what some other private scholarship funds have to offer. And we want to start doing this now. Start making a list of some of these scholarships. A lot of these scholarships actually want you to write essays to show your expertise in a certain topic. So let's say, for example, it's a scholarship by a humanitarian organization. They may say, what are some things that we can do to reduce poverty in a certain country? And then you'd write an essay. Some essays, they want 500 words, 1,000 words, depending on what it is. But they want to do that really not necessarily just to test your writing skills, but also to see how you could think. How do you think outside the box? Because there are so many people who don't test well, but they write well or they express themselves well. So you're in a situation now where you could actually get accepted into school by having a strong essay. And really, the interesting thing is that this is probably one of the easiest times getting to university. When I was in university many moons ago, I'm just going to say what it is. I started university 31 years ago. Okay. And there was no such thing as test optional. As a matter of fact, if I wanted to play collegiate sports, I had to get at least a 700 score on the SATs. If you scored low on those SATs, you weren't allowed to play sports in college. You would not get accepted into college with low SAT scores. Now, these scores are being waived at even some of the most prestigious schools because they feel that, there's more to learning and education than just test scores. So even now, more than ever, it's easier to get into some of these schools. So take advantage of it now before they reverse it and start making everybody take them. Now, here's another thing. You have to check out which schools require these tests from international students, because some schools, they still require SATs from international students. All right. You want to check that. Not all of them, but I have seen a few schools that say, okay, listen, we want to see SAT scores. Now, if your GPA is low or it's not the greatest, some schools will say, okay, let's say if you got below a 2.5 or you got below a 3.0, we want to see SAT scores. So you want to make sure that you are staying on top and making sure your grades are the greatest. Now, also, remember, we're looking at grade scale. We're generally talking out of a 4.0, 4.0 grade scale. And sometimes you can get a little bit higher depending on whether it's weighted or not. But the international students coming with the higher scores are the ones that are going to get accepted. That's simply what it is. So if you got a 3.2 and your neighbor got a 4.0, most likely your neighbor's going to be the one to get into these schools. And I feel that international students really have to work harder to make sure they get these scholarships. So this is one thing that we're definitely going to work on. For my 11th graders right now, let's start getting a list of some of these schools. Jot down some of these schools that you want to look at. I've already done whole videos on many different schools in America that you could apply to. And I haven't even scratched the surface. I haven't even done a whole lot of schools yet, but I did some. Look at some of the schools that I've reviewed, as some range from very selective to not very selective. All right. So I always also say that you want to make sure you have what you call a safety school. You want to make sure that you're applying to some schools that you know you're going to get accepted to. It makes no sense applying to 15 schools that are all very difficult to get into and you get into none of them. So, for example, if you look at a school like Swarthmore College has like an 8% or a 9% acceptance rate. So it's a good chance that you might not get in. Whereas another school may have an acceptance rate of maybe 85% or even 90%, depending on what it is. And the school might be perfectly fine for you. All right. So don't get all too caught up on prestige and if I got in or not. You just want to make sure that you are, doing the best you can to get in these universities. Now, so August now, going to September. Some of your friends are going away to school. You're waving bye-bye. See you later. All right. You want to make sure that you are getting on it right now. Senior year is not the time to play around. Senior year is the time to make sure all your applications are in. And I want you guys to be done, hopefully by December, to at least have the schools that you're in. Some of my private clients right now, we're working on it right now. We have their Common Apps filled out. We're looking at scholarships available. We're gathering all their records and stuff. And we're not waiting for the counselor of our school to do these things. That's one thing you never want to do. Never sit there, just wait on the counselor. Because if you wait on the counselor, unless your school counselor is very proactive, they could actually mess up your chance of getting into some schools. Sitting there waiting on them. Please, somebody transfer off, do this, that, whatever. No. You want to go to the counselor and say, this is what I want to do. I would like your help, but these are my deadlines here. I want to apply for early admission to some of these schools. All right. I want to apply for early admission for some of these schools, or I want this, that, whatever. I need my transcripts in a timely manner. So that's another thing you want to do. You want to make sure that you're talking to the registrar at your school or admissions at your school and making sure that they're sending your transcripts off at a reasonable time to the colleges you apply to, so they can make a decision on whether they want you or not. A lot of transcripts now are digital, so that makes things a little bit easier. But if you go to a school that's maybe a little bit backwards or maybe a little bit slow in doing that, you really want to make sure that you're staying on top of them to make sure that your transcripts get to them and or your school records. Now, don't slack off in your senior year just because you got to the school of your choice. No, you still want to finish off strong. If you're taking maybe harder classes, you still want to make sure you're finishing off strong and that you're not having any regrets, because last thing you want to do is take like a physics class or like a calculus class on your last semester, and then what happens is that you fail it, and then you have to go back to college. You have to go to college and take that course again, or you have to go into remedial math because you failed that last semester of calculus. So don't ease off on the gas yet. Don't ease up on the gas yet. All right. And also, we constantly want to keep applying for scholarships. We constantly want to see what's available. All right. Like, comment, subscribe. Questions, comments, short speeches, put them in the bottom. We're going to hit this off. Remember, September's right around the corner, and we need to make sure that we have these schools in. If you don't have 10 to 15 schools in, I don't know what you're doing right now, to be honest. You need to get on that. Google it. Go to U.S. News, my favorite site. Go there, look at some schools, 10, 15 schools. Pay the application fee. Get them off. Fill out the Common App. Please, fill the Common App. Fill the Common App out. Most of the schools I reviewed are on the Common App, and it makes it easier. One application, pay the fee. Sometimes they take like one essay. So you might write one general essay, and all the schools might accept them. Some of them may ask you for some supplemental questions or some other things like that, but most of them just want the essay. Then you're going to start getting reply letters. Hey, you've been accepted. Hey, you're going here. Hey, you don't want to make it like, the people that do reaction videos. Although I do like the reaction videos when the people go and say what schools they got accepted into. But, we're worrying about what's good for you. We're not going to try to do the whole phony thing. And we're sitting on YouTube crying about if I got in or not. And if you don't get into Harvard, don't worry, there's other schools. If you don't get into Northwestern, there are other schools. If you don't get into Yale or Swarthmore or Stanford, don't worry. There's so many other schools you can go to and be successful with. Do not let the prestige thing drive you crazy, because it'll drive people crazy. I've seen people go crazy because they didn't get into Yale or they didn't get into Princeton. I didn't get into Princeton. Oh my gosh. It's not the end of the world, pumpkin. You're still going to be able to get into school and do some good things. Remember, it's what you do when you get there, okay? Because you can go there and fail, and we don't want that to happen to you guys either, all right? Check you guys out on the next video. Make sure you go and get these applications out so we can get them moving. All right.
Just between us here.